You are listening to Journeys on Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com and simulcast with wolfspiritradio.com. Join JP, your tour guide today, on this journey of discovery from the known to the unknown in search of enlightenment, knowledge, and truth. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, no matter where you are on this beautiful green planet. Welcome to Journeys with JP on Revolution Radio and simulcast with Wolf Spirit Radio through Ever Beyond Radio. So, tonight I have a very special guest who I've been wanting to speak to for several years. Ever since I saw a very quietly Project Camelot interview, I thought I really must speak to this lady. So through some of the Project Camelot forum and Avalon forum people, I've managed to get in touch, and we've had a little preamble chat, and so I'd like to welcome onto Journeys with JP, Eva Zemanova. Good afternoon, Eva. How are you?
Good afternoon and evening, everybody from Prague.
So from Prague, what a magnificent place. It's lots of open spaces and squares in Prague, aren't there?
Well, I've just talked to Carrie Cassidy, who has been here for a weekend, and we both think it's pretty crowded, and especially because it's summer, the summer holiday, so it's full of tourists. It's just packed with people, and it can get hot and unpleasant, A place like that, it's not what it used to be. The mystical, magical Prague is still under the stones and the signs and the legends and the traditions. They are buried under the trinkets and
under the veneer of bling, as they call it these days. Sparkly objects and pretty things that aren't really pretty. Not really beautiful, but pretty. So, today we're going to be talking about stuff that happened, well, I mean, if you believe in the illusion of time, a long time ago. A billion years ago can be last week, It's a very odd thing when you're talking about something like this, because in our mainstream society, we are taught that the earth was this and it's billions of years old, and suddenly, 6,000 years ago, here's bam, man, God created. So that's obviously rubbish, right? And then you got the evolutionists who say, well, we were monkeys and apes, and then we started swinging from the trees, and then come down and started, lighting fires and all this stuff. And I believe that's also bollocks. So there's somewhere in amongst all of the myths and legends from all the native lands, from the Native Americans and their stories of the Star Elders, to the Aborigines and the Dogons, who talk about, again, the Star Elders from Sirius and all of these other places. So today, my guest, Eva, is going to tell us a story of something that happened a long time ago, much longer than the time of Egypt. Much longer than the time of Atlantis. Now, people think that Atlantis is a legend, right? To me, it's a reality. It's like last Tuesday. And before Atlantis, there were other civilizations, and one of them was called Lemuria. And eventually, Lemuria and Atlantis got into a war, and stuff happened, and all that stuff. And we basically, the planet basically, as we say, twatted itself, knocked itself out. And we've been suffering from concussion and amnesia ever since. And this is like 13 or so thousand years ago. But before that, even long time ago, before 1 million years, before 10 million years, before 100 million years, 500 million years ago, a ship landed. We're going to find out the story of that ship. And to tell that story, good evening, good afternoon, Eva Zemanova. Hello. Let's.
I believe the show upon me, or no, it's not the case.
What's that?
Where to start?
Where to start? Well,
Well,
the story the story that you told to Kerry and to Miles started with what seemed to be on the level of the beings in a routine journey, something that was just normal or something that happened normally. Do you want to first of all? Do you want to tell us about whose ship it was, who was on it, and what was the journey that you were taking about, and then what happened when you came close to Earth?
Okay, I'll try to cut through the space and time.
Yes, and indeed, take your time. You can speak slowly and build us pictures as you go of the things that you perceive and remember and have understood from other sources, and the whole picture that you put together for yourself.
Obviously, I'm going to give a personal, like a hint, personal.
Of course,
personal feeling to that. I need to personalize the story. So the beings I met there, or where I came to this, and when this all happened, and I saw the ship landing or landed on the place here, and that was the time when I went to Bodghaya for the Kala Chakra initiation. That did not happen at the end. That was the 2002 canceled the initiation, and so these beings were probably are with us, and I knew them from my childhood, from my soul, from my spirit. I think I felt a connection, but I've never seen them in a full form. I have never seen how important it is, or how does it relate to our human history. I would have no idea. But then this one night changed everything in my life, and God knows it was a moment that perhaps much was changed for this planet alone, because through this memory, they were giving us back a part of our heritage and of our ancestry. And they try to, through this memory, they try to remind us who we are as human beings, where did we come from, that we are not an advanced mammal, that we are not just an advanced mammal, that we are not just an advanced ape, and that we had this completely amazing, wonderful, old ancient civilization and ancestors in stars who came here millions of years ago, and they happen to, and then it's important to say where we came from. So we came from fairly far away. So your listeners probably they will more easily relate to names of nearby stars and galaxies. And if we understand that all these neighboring galaxies belong to what's called a Virgo supercluster, then our original civilization was a part of another star cluster. And that is still in another part of the universe, as you say, another sector of the universe. And we thought, or the way we understood it, that was a much older universe. Now, if you have different concepts of how does the space evolve or revolve like a larger concept. There are many concepts. One I really love is the bubble universe. It's like the bubbles or the eggs of local universes, each evolving its unique characteristics, and them all floating in a still larger sea of space, and so forth. And so this permits the idea of the multiverses and so forth. And the way we would look at it is that our universe, to where we all belong now, has a kind of center that we now even cannot perceive. It's not like the center of the galaxy. It's not like a big black hole or something like that. But in fact, the center is in complete standstill. It's in the center of that universe, the nothing ever moves or changes. It's where the time and space, they come to still. And around this center, the universe still happens to be highly organized, symmetrical, and it has almost like a perfect symmetry. It's not what we see commonly or experience where we are now, but back in our home, the way the suns and all the other bodies behave themselves was like a clock. In a way, it was like almost like imagining this perfect atomic clock. So they were perfectly rhythmical, and they had this beautiful like range spectrum of frequencies that enabled stable environments, and then they were able to host or provide an environment for evolution or existence of intelligent life, long-lived life that did not life forms, beings as we were, who did not have to struggle with the environment as we know here. So basically, our ancestors, they came from this very advanced environment. So what does it say? We are not really used to all the struggle we now experience down here, and we are not used to the pain. We are not used to work so hard. We are not used to the process of aging. Where we came from, we did not have all these diseases and all these fights and wars and conflicts, internal or external. So compared to here, the idea survives in us like, I think, a kind of metaphysical heaven, or a memory of that perfection. It is something that we all carry within us, and we all can relate to in our dreams. So this is where our civilization came to being, where it was born in the millions of years of our time. And then when and after we developed far space travel, and we were exploring various planets and evolution waves of life, and how it was seeded to different environments and our sister civilizations, all these old civilizations. And we saw them coming and going and so forth. So on one of these journeys, that was like directed somewhere even further than we are now, on this planet, this solar system, where we went to visit kind of sister civilization who were in need and who who were desperate for contact with others like them, like us. And on the way back, the mothership, we had experienced some kind of error in its almost perfect system of artificial intelligence. And there, I think it's a story of there are many of the sci-fi stories that kind of hint on the theme of what happens to the super perfect computer when it suddenly encounters an error it cannot solve immediately. So that's the whole problem with artificial intelligence, that when it gets stuck with itself, you can't really help it out.
Man, it gets stuck.
It's
when
so
Skype crashes.
Yeah, so fast and so smart that it only agrees to do it itself, and we are not able to interact with it in major way from outside, because it was constructed in that way. It was made that way, and so on that account, the ship was searching for a safe place to rest us, and it happened to land on this ancient Earth, on this very planet. And I don't know how long is that. Like, in the memory of the event, I got a number like 80 million years ago, but I suppose it's really an approximation. Because who knows how long ago it was, considering there was no advanced life here. And the way we saw this planet was like a kind of hospitable but rough environment. If you imagine wild planet, like imagine landing somewhere in the middle of Utah in a sandstorm or something like that. There is nobody around 1,000 miles. So what are you going to do? So you can start walking.
It's convenient for the shops, for instance. It's very hard to get some fresh milk or something for your tea.
Yeah, nothing
for your ET. So let me just jump in and sort of dive into a little bit of what you've been saying. So the group of people were basically, I'm going to call them people. Do you have a name for the race that we can call them? Like a handle. It doesn't matter if that's their real name or approximation.
I would certainly, like, my name for them and us was that we were beings, but I use the name people like a common term.
Yeah.
But they were beings, and I know that they were known as peacemakers. Mm-hmm. And elders. They did not hold on to a particular name for themselves or for the civilization, because they were known to be the elders of the civilized universe. So, right.
And I suppose in that way they don't speak using words and names like we do. There's a symbolic transference of telepathic information, boom, like that, isn't there?
Yeah, we communicated between us mostly telepathically, and we would understand even telepathy is still a form of energy transfer. So we would have a senses, quite like you can describe human senses, but we were able to read information on a more subtle frequencies or more subtle levels receive and transmit information between us on those levels, even in great distance. But of course, it had its limits, like its physical limits and properties, quite like everything in formed universe, in the universe of forms, has its limits. Yeah, and yeah.
So as a computer programmer for many years, I'm interested in the AI aspect of it, and also the fact that the AI came across what we'd call a bug. That it came to a point when its programming did not model the universe around it. It was in a place where it didn't know. There was a place it didn't recognize. It wasn't familiar at all with the environment that it found itself in. Gravitationally, as you say, it fell into the gravity well. So, number one, Eva, can you talk a little bit about this gravity well? Because I remember you mentioned it very briefly, that it's like a kind of if you're going in the sea and there's a mountain under the sea that is just like about 50 feet below the surface of the water, and you need to know that that's going to happen, otherwise you're going to be torn apart by the top of the hill as you go across it. So, is there a kind of galactic equivalent of a buoy or some sort of indicator to say, don't go near here, there's a great big gravity well, or is it a trap?
Definitely, there is both. So we like the technology we had, and the ship was flying with was pretty amazing compared to all standards. If you hear of the other I don't know, advanced visitors we get, even they don't have such a good technology, so they could fly so far, or that they would dare to fly so far, because indeed space is full of traps and fields that are hard to predict. It's almost like if you talk about the sea and the sea walls. They would tell you, right, or maybe one of them, that they would tell you that no matter how well prepared you are, then you are always facing a challenge with the sea, right? So here we are also. So it's always possibly a challenge, even with the most perfect technologies, just daring to go too far to the unmapped universe. And we knew of the seas, that of the quality of the space can vary, and the gravity fields, they can accelerate or slow your journey, or they can take you somewhere a little bit else than you really wanted to go. And even if you have really good sensors and the technology, as we discussed that together previously, that we were actually rather cutting through space, which is like probably called a hyperspace travel or something like that. So we were kind of repelling the space, because space is not empty thing. It's all kinds of space particles that are arranged to those fields of energy, and those fields, like waves, they then they go around larger bodies of galaxies and star clusters, and even like undifferentiated sectors from where the energy becomes condensed, and eventually it gives birth to a new star or a new black hole and a new type of universe. So we were flying through all this, but there can be traps. So definitely the gravity force and the forces, they can be tricky, and there is one thing that I've deduced about this particular solar system and this planet, that it has a gravity loop. And it has something to do maybe even with this planet alone. Maybe a very long time ago it could have been an old star that then turned to a satellite. Definitely all planets originate from the star itself, from the central star itself, but it could have also been another star originally, who dwarfed and cooled down and whatever the case is, and then and it burst to pieces that became satellites. Whatever is the case, it would explain the kind of interjection of forces and the emergence of this gravity loop. And the ship was searching for a habitable place, for a place to rest for a time being, and it ended up here. And it did not feel safe, or it could not lift itself back to space immediately. So it left us stranded here on this place for a really very, very long time. Yeah, and I did also, from what I have seen, did the origins of the ancient mankind, or its predecessor, or one of its predecessor, to this accident and to this event.
Thank you. So the gravity loop fascinates me, and also what you were saying. Now, there are stories from the Hollow Earth Biogarth say that there's a star in the center of our planet, a tiny little star they call the Smoky God, and that actually that illuminates the inside of our planet like a bauble, like a Christmas tree decoration, and that we're really kind of clinging to the hull of a big spaceship on the outside here. That, there's a lot more inside than there is on the outside and these things. But anyway, beyond that, this gravity loop was something that the ship couldn't understand and couldn't deal with, and said, just let me think about this for a while, or something like that. And so what happened? So I'm interested in what happened to the personality of the AI. Did it go crazy? Is it still there? I mean,
no,
is it how? Has it escaped? Is it somewhere in the internet?
No, the AI is trapped in the ship, and it doesn't. Fortunately for us, it does not have a personality. So, our ancestors were like wise and benevolent to that degree. They would not be able, or they would not create something that would endanger them under any circumstances. So that's the very purpose of an artificial intelligence, as it should be. It has to serve the living beings. Under no circumstances are the living beings going to serve the artificial intelligence. So it's completely the same. It's the same entity, is the same intelligence, as it were, and it's forever trapped with the ship. And my idea about the consequence of those events is twofold. Either it flew back at some later point of time and so forth, or it remained deep underground in the earth, in the area where we landed, because it was heavy. It was kind of super heavy. So naturally it sunk. It sunk in the sands. It sunk through the geomagnetic events. There were all these tectonic shifts and earthquakes and how the earth formed. So if it's down there, it's still counting its time and it's talking to us. So from what I saw in Bodghaya is that we are still connected mentally to the ship. At least those of us who remember this part of history or the events. And the interesting phenomenon about the whole story of Bodh is story of Buddhas, and it's not only the last Buddha Shakyamuni, who lived 2,500 years ago, but according to Buddhism he was about the sixth Buddha. The previous Buddha from him was Buddha Kashyapa, and there are still some forgive me, there are still some remains of this Buddha Kashyapa preserved in some sacred locations like Mongolia. And I suppose that Buddha Kashyapa, he lived at the time of Lemuria. I've studied some records, like some comparing the data and so forth. So if the Buddhist cosmology and datings have anything to say to this, then Buddha Kashyapa lived maybe 100,000 or 150,000 years ago. And so these kind of Buddhas are coming after long time, and they really, what they do is they say they turn the wheel of Dharma. So they turn things in the right direction for the humanity to continue forwards. Otherwise we keep getting stuck and we are sort of turning in a loop. Is what they call the samsara, the wheel of birth and death and repetition of events, and we are just going through the same circumstances again and again till we clear all the mistakes, all the wrongdoings, all the deeds and misdeeds, and because there are so many, if you count all the people taking part in that, so it would take infinite time to fix it all. So what we need each time is a kind of powerful fix and direction and navigation. Okay, guys, you need to walk forwards, not backwards, not in the round. So these Buddhas, it's said in the Buddhist scriptures that all of the Buddhas attained the supreme enlightenment in Bodhgaya. So that's an interesting detail. So it would mean that after some time, everybody goes back to Bodhgaya and they meditate there and they connect to this field of the mothership and the field that was left there by the impact of our landing and so forth, and connects to this artificial intelligence. And perhaps at that time we are also better able to connect to other cosmic intelligences, and out of sudden we see the whole picture. We see the bigger picture. We see much larger picture, and ourselves from that perspective. We see how small we are in this particular time frame. But I believe it perhaps gives us a motivation. It gives us reason and to keep struggling forward.
To keep pushing on. So, all right. So let's just take up a few of those very interesting nuggets there. So, fantastic what you talk about the Buddhas. There is this thing that I read the Alice Bailey material, and one of the things that Dwal Kul points out is that he's quoting from ancient books that their age has been lost in the mists of time. But what it sounds like is that this Buddha that you're talking about, the Lemurian Buddha, let's say, he's the one who wrote that ancient commentary. Is that right? And also, you said the loop of karma. Is the loop of karma connected with the loop of gravity, by any chance?
Oh, definitely. So, for that we would have to go to the beginning itself, and where when everything started.
Okay, shall we use the time machine? Shall we go back in the time machine?
I do. If you have one, it's completely ideal.
Hang on, let's just let's see if I can get it going. There we go. There we go. So,
Yes.
how far back are we today? How far back are we now?
So like 80 million years only.
Just 80 million years. A mere last Wednesday. And so, can you describe?
You can see almost nothing around. That's just those rocks and trees.
Trees. Okay, so we got trees. We have bracken. Do we have grass?
Yeah, and then all the plant life as we know it.
So the plant life is fully developed, and do we have things like flowers and blossoms and stuff like that?
Yeah, depends on weather really, but the weather is wild.
Oh.
Like expect the weather to be really stormy.
Okay, so it's not a peaceful time like a sort of idyllic paradise time. It's really quite a turbulent time.
It's an ancient time, and the weather is wild. Yeah. So there we are, the explorers of the space. But we have just landed, and what's happened? You have mentioned the gravity problem.
Yeah, about the gravity.
So some of us happen to step out to this unusual gravity field of the Earth, and no matter how much we enjoy the sights, what happened to our biological organisms, or at least some of them, not everybody, is that they got dwarfed. They turned to Earthlings, and it was a cataclysm. It was a disaster. The exodus of our race, all the cultural exodus we feel so grave about these days, and leaving one country and coming to another country, and the cultures are dying. So they are a remnant of this original situation, and this destruction of our full potential as space civilians and as the elders. So at least part of us turn to these Earthlings. And what I probably forgot to mention about the part of the universe where we find ourselves now is that this one is a kind of young and uneven universe that keeps like crumbling out and spilling its debris and so forth. So it's not really a well-shaped universe. And whatever our own biological properties were, so we were suddenly subjected to the forces of this crumbling young universe, and some suffered not only like depression and not only a post-traumatic stress disorder and all these kind of things. They really lost the memory. They suffered deep amnesia. They did not remember who they were, and their body were challenged to a shape they could not recognize. They could not. They had to reconcile with who they were all of a sudden, and they could not recognize us who remained in the original shape, and they could not really relate to us. So it was really a huge trauma for everybody who was present. And these people, these first Earthlings, they developed to in many various ways. So they were not one kind of people; they were individuals completely, as we know the humanity to be at the moment, like evolving through individual pathways or individual genetic pathways and so forth. So these people too, they were different and various. And later on, to jump through a time, and after they recovered and started recovering, they could not really, and we had no way how to put them back. Even with those amazing technologies we were just staring at what has happened, and there was no precedence, and there was no remedy we could apply just to put them back to shape. And so we had to leave them in that biological shape as they were, fleshy beings, and later also mortal beings, and who developed their own minds. They developed completely their own identity. They started to call themselves the people of the earth, the Earthlings. And they really developed ideas of God, and they felt the guilt for what has happened, and they thought that it was some kind of punishment of God, things like that, and everything that happened later had the roots, or has roots in this very old and complicated story.
Wow. So Eva, let's just drop in here, because you've laid out some very, very interesting memes, as we say. The idea that they were guilty, the idea that they felt something had gone wrong and that it was their fault. These all sound like what we call religion.
Exactly, they were the very roots of religion and all religions on earth. But the point is that there was really no guilt and no reason for a guilt, because there was no one in the universe responsible for that error, but it's simply a psychological, the psychology.
Yeah, it was an accident. Yes,
is when you have no answer and no explanation for a situation, and the situation so existentially deep that it shapes your fate to Robinson Crusoe out of sudden, and you don't know why. How did you deserve this? So you have to invent some explanation or apology for what has happened. So I think they were searching for an idea. They are searching the words, religions, and prophets. They are offering an idea after idea since, as we know that.
So in a way, religions are trying to explain the enigma of what happened without really knowing the story of what happened, because it starts becoming personal. People make it personal about personalities. Like, people talk about the personality of Jesus. He's like this, and this is what we want, and it becomes personal. It is no longer about the spirit being that we are inside, which we're trying to grow. From what I understand, we're trying to grow back into that being that landed in Bodghaya. Is that the idea of evolution?
Yeah, and I believe that basically we are going there as a humanity. We are regrowing back. But what's the there are couple of opposing forces, like our first enemy in that battle were the physical forces. It was not any sort of living enemy, not any entity. It was simply the physical forces.
The elemental energy.
The elementary forces we were subjected to as human beings that put us and our very intelligence, our capacity to think and to explain reality around us in more sophisticated ways. So our intelligence was kind of dwarfed. And since then, of course, life is so miraculous, life is so powerful, it always finds a way. So, even if you beat us on head with a hammer, and still at the end someone will look up, he'll still be alive, and he
Look
will
at
say,
grass that grows through concrete. Yes, indeed. So this is fascinating. Now we've got.
But and then there is the problem of people who were beaten, proverbially,
Yeah.
on the head so much, they really lost character.
Yeah.
And our genetic potential and everything that we somehow developed due to this planet was affected by this strong physical trauma. And so it also contains lots of mistakes and potential to weaknesses, potential to mutate to different forms. And we of course need the mutability, we need the variable, so we can try, our biological nature can try to find ways around the difficulty here, and I believe that the body of humanity with all these billions of members is basically trying to work it out best as possible and find the perfect model. So far we were never able to, it was not we are not, nobody is doing it consciously. It's the same Mother Nature doing it through us. So it's looking for evolving us the way that we should be the best, to be able to adapt to here, to survive and function in our best capacity. And so even the future humans will be able to lift themselves back to space and fly back home, because it's what we are meant to do one day.
Mm-hmm. So this is very interesting, because one of the stations along my path in the last few weeks, I first of all, was feeling down into this Lyran thing, and realizing that through the big trauma of having to escape from whatever was raiding and everything like that, all of these traumas that we experience, once we get over them, we then have what I call superpowers. We have a super sensitivity, because when we were tiny, we blocked it off. So when we regain it, that sensitivity is ultra keen, because it's been working so hard, like the plant growing up through the concrete. It's been working so hard despite the fact that it's been completely suppressed. So,
exactly.
And it's just like if you want to make dandelions to grow to eat, like lettuce, dandelions flowers, is you put them on a bucket, so they have no light at all, and they force themselves up, even despite the fact that there's no light. And that, I believe, this is like the human experience. This is what we're going through. We put ourselves through the mincer so that we can reconstitute ourselves and make new burgers out of ourselves.
It's what we are doing, like biologically. as you say, reconstituting ourselves of completely new level of matter. So, we have to, at the end, we have to become the master scissors here. The ones who happen to win over the hardest matter, and that we were not familiar with previously, the force that was foreign to us, that was kind of too brute, too dense to work with as we were originally, because the level of density where we came from was lighter, and we never had to deal with this type of force, this type of elemental structure. So we would not approach it, or we were not attracted to it, and simply we did not have to. But now we have to, and the life eventually will win, and we are finding a way around this. So the great people, or the great humans are, through sciences and everything, they are finding their own definitions that fit perfectly for this local model of time-space. And once we are able to define it correctly and work with the forces and conquer the brute force, like crack the brute force and perfect the shape of the elements of the matter we deal with, then we will master the environment and we are free. But it won't be sooner than that, I suppose.
Well, I hope it's that, these things can go up like, we used to talk about the hockey stick graph, going up like that with global warming, which is rubbish, but our evolution, I think, goes like that. Really, even at this moment when, in time, these last few days, these last few weeks, certainly people around me have been having insights and understandings of new concepts that perhaps were unavailable before. But it does seem to me to be a new wave of like a refreshing wave of intelligence that seems to be coming somewhere from the cosmos.
Well, I think of it as kind of quantum leap. Leap.
Well, quantum leap. I mean, this is a loop. We are talking loopiness here, and perhaps
maybe
it's something to do with it.
Yeah, it's the octave, like you change the U to the E.
Yes, indeed. Because everything is harmonic. Atoms are harmonic. Atoms are geometric. The way things put together. What they call these things. Platonic solids are the structures of the nuclei.
I have a crystal. It's the same thing in a crystal.
Yes, I've got the crystal ones, and these are lapis lazuli. Look at this.
Yeah, lapis. There is mine.
Yes, very pretty.
That one.
We're showing each other our crystals. Oh yeah, there you go. We're showing each other. That is our dodecahedron. So Evelyn's got a crystal one made of quartz, and this is one made of lapis lazuli. Hang on, is that dodecahedron? Yeah. Dodecahedron has 12 triangular sides. An icosahedron has 20 pentangular sides. Is it 20? It's like loads. No, maybe 10. I don't know what this is. Which one's this? Anyhow, it's the icosahedron and a dodecahedron. One of them. Dodecahedron's got 12 sides, and icosahedron's got 20. So we're coming up to the top of the first hour, and I just wanted to let's sum up. So the beings coming on a routine kind of trip got caught in a gravity well. The artificial intelligence that was flying the ship for them. Because there's no navigator in real ships. They don't have it. It's not like a steamship, Star Trek is like a steamship, there's a navigator and a guy turning the wheel and all that stuff. But we don't have that. It's just like maybe somebody sitting oh yeah, there you go. Maybe somebody sitting in the in the console in a single chair saying, "Okay, home now," and then the ship does the rest. But what seemed to happen is that the ship got caught in our solar systems and the Earth's gravity loop. It had never come across it, and it decided that it was going to land and see if it could run some self-diagnostics. And that was over 80 million years ago or more. The beings that came off the ship, who were originally light beings, suddenly fell into a condensed state like a dwarf. And of course, you know, if your brow center is like 12 feet up in the air, and now the middle of your head is now like 2 feet up in the air, then you're not going to have the psychic connections anymore. Your chakras are going to be all completely disaligned. And so, obviously there's a load of disconnection. There's a load of trauma there. It's, so there's another, you know, this is another human birth trauma that I believe is part of the whole trauma based. The reason that we're able to be mind controlled is because of these traumas that happened in our long distant past. And that's why I'm interested in healing them and helping them to heal on the whole world, because then we won't be able to be fooled. We won't get fooled again. So enjoy the short commercials, and we'll be back in a few minutes' time. Thank you very much. And welcome back to Journeys with JP on Revolution Radio, a listener-supported station. Why not check out the seed pack and go to the support area at www.freedomslips.com. We are also simulcasting through Wolf Spirit Radio. Come to www.wolfspiritradio.com/listen to join in the chat room there. Very friendly place. You can also come to the forum there and enjoy the conversation with some of the most intelligent listeners on the web. Also simulcast through Ever Beyond Radio, and you can come there and you can book sessions with me. So that's everbeyondradio.com. Now, today, my guest, my esteemed guest, my lovely guest, is Eva Zemanova, speaking from Prague, all the way in the center of Europe, in the place that was untouched by the Ice Age, where the elephants lived for a long, long time. Do you know about that? You know, Hannibal brought elephants to Rome.
Hannibal Antiportas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe the elephants came not from south, they come from east. Yeah. Brought them from the valleys of Bulgaria and Romania and all that. They were all in there.
Yeah. But now we have two types of elephants. One is Indian elephant with the small ears, and the African elephant with the big ears. And they're both endangered species. But it's definitely that India and Africa were once closely connected. So, because the fauna is very similar, and there is lots of transference, also similarity between the plants of South India. Of course, India is kind of a long continent. It reaches down to the very tip, to the Indian Ocean. There is the tropical zone, and then the whole subtropical zones north up to the Himalayas. So India has lots of diversity, and also human diversity, because it's quite a populous country, and cultural diversity, and so India is jam-packed with history.
So India itself is a seed pack, as I was mentioning, in that. Well, in fact, let's talk about going all the way to the seed, which is back to the Bodghaya landing. This is where it all comes from, because when you arrived here, it was barren, and now it's not. So it's got to be something to do with you guys, or us guys, or however it all works out. You know, who we identify as these ancient ancestors of ours.
Yeah, so that's a mystery of the civilization as we know it now, right? So we have all kinds of diverse ancestors, and as you have been mentioning previously, we kind of incorporated people from different parts of the universe, or at least so is the common belief, how different people and races came here. Then after, even though my idea about this like kind of spectacular human evolution is that in the deep past, you would have to use the time machine, your time machine again.
Meanwhile, long ago.
Right. And now it's the chirping birds and the soft breeze of the ancient winds blowing over the surface. I can hear them in my mind, but people, they will say we are already hallucinating on the show. See, anything is coming? No birds. Birds grew quiet.
Can't hear the birds. You should be able to hear the birds. It's a very quiet, gentle. Oh, hang on. There we go. There's the birds. So, meanwhile, long time ago.
Well, wonderful. So our first ancestors, they suffered this accident and steep decline, and then slowly they started to shape themselves, put themselves back to shape biologically and civilization wise, and I believe they evolved many old civilizations we have no idea or name for as of the moment. Forget about the myths of Atlantis and Lemuria, as you have said. So those who came millions and millions of years ago are long gone now. We don't know the names. We probably won't find really good remnants or remains of them. Or maybe we will. Maybe they have buried a time capsule somewhere. So that would be really something if we could find a time capsule containing some knowledge readable by us, by today's technical means, or even any simple means that would convey the message, hey, we have been here that and that long ago, and we have been already pretty advanced, and we left. Some of us, they left for Andromeda, or we have left for the Pleiades, we left for the nearby stars to find ourselves a better home. So I believe that in past there were actually this kind of epochs that when those ancient human ancestors evolved enough technology, so they really went to explore the surrounding universe, and they perhaps settled somewhere else. And sure that after some time, that maybe thousands or millions of years, they came back, they came to see, they came to check up on here and what's happened here in the meantime. So one of the options I'm considering is that we are really all siblings. Speaking of these nearby space intelligences, so many of them are at least partially human, or we recognize them according to the same imprint. We have the same intelligent imprint. We can communicate. Perhaps it's like they drifted away for a few millions of years, so the language will be different and the appearance will be varied, and we won't have the same mentality anymore. And they come and look at these humans here, they really think we are backwards and we are the old settlers. But I hope that they also and that they have respect and that they have compassion towards humanity, and they are to help us, and so on. So where did we stop?
Well, I was one of the places that we did stop was the idea of the loop. You know, the idea of that this ship was caught in a gravity loop, and then we've also got this looping karmic wheel that we seem to be on. And indeed, you know, behind you, obviously we're on audio, but behind you is a beautiful tonka, a Tibetan silk drawing of the Kala Chakra mandala, which, you know, it's a circular square design. There we go. It's beautiful. I mean, to me, what this looks like is a pyramid from above. Is like a design of a pyramid temple if you look at it directly from the plan.
Yeah, it's actually a 3D temple. Yeah, it's completely multidimensional. It's supposed to have at least like six dimensions.
Yes.
It has many meanings, but it's completely a 3D temple. It's also 4D structure because it basically describes the nature of time. One of its functions is to help to describe a time as a kind of organized entity, a structure, and how it evolves the space.
So yeah, interesting.
Back in the loop, yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the loop. So, and the other thing is the Kala Chakra, I was just thinking, I wonder if that's the design of the inside of the ship. Is that, I mean, you know, you're talking about a very, very ancient symbol that is a two-dimensional representation of a multi-dimensional thing, and it's round, sitting on a square platform, yeah, but it's round. Is this what we're talking about? It
could be kind of archetypal depiction of the sphere of the hemisphere that brought us here. But I believe there is even more information coded in the mandala. It's pretty complicated. There are 722 deities or the Buddhas inside the mandala.
How many?
722.
722 individual deities, each one with their own character and name and everything, yeah?
And each one, is completely individual, has completely individual characteristics and symbolizes a function. You know, I think the closest you could go to work with the mandala would be probably deciphering it in a kind of mathematical way. And because it's a highly organized structure, it's kind of a chip. You know, this is what I saw many things in it because I spent almost 6 years just sitting looking through that big Chakra mandala on the much bigger big wall of the temple, and it has these mandalas on the wall, and I kept looking to that, and it was much better than a TV or anything similar. It really has a perspective. It has really deep inner perspective, and it's just, you can see many amazing things just looking through it. And it's not the way the Kala Chakra meditation or the practice is done traditionally. It has the practice when I also kept reading the Kala Chakra practice. So it's kind of a sequence. And after the Bodghaya event, when I actually learned or I try to then learn how things relate, how they connect, what they mean. Then I thought definitely the mandala is just a little. It's a snippet of information that one of the ancient seers, either it was Buddha or it was one of the Indian Mahasiddhas, who were working with these yantras and these mandalas, because the Kalachakra tradition is pre-Buddhist, it's older than Buddhism. It exists in Vedas, and it exists out of Buddhism originally. So they were able to see these mandalas like the perfect a reflection of a perfect reality of great magnitude, and kind of in a simple form, the way the crop circles appear in the English countryside. So in a similar way, the old gurus and yogis were getting these reflections of another higher dimensional reality and organized patterns, and they were they were trying to explain the process, how to reconnect our mind that fell to the gravity and to the error, how to reconnect ourselves back with this other reality and what they call the alternative time space, which is the very center of the Kalachakra mandala, because the mandala has three levels, three transcendental levels of the outer time, which is like the solar time and the planetary time and this and that, and the inner time, which is more like the body clock, the biological clock, and the ways we are timed as living beings. And then the innermost mandala represents the alternative time, which is then the time of these ancient Buddhas. And following the sadhana and the initiation rites and the empowerments, because basically you cannot get through these teachings other than with help of transmissions of the lineage teachers who carry the imprint, the teaching. So there is something more going on in through these lineages and through these empowerments than can be easily interpreted from a book or from a story or even from the mandala itself. And these are the so-called mind transmissions that are well described in Tibetan Buddhism. So there is a category of teachings in Tibetan Buddhism that are only passed through mind, from a teacher to a very special teacher to a special disciple, or few of them each time. And they are not taught verbally. They are not written in a book. They are only hinted. It's told, okay, they exist, and on special occasions when these teachings are necessary, they are transmitted from one person to another, to the next generation, and then next generation and next generation, and so they are preserved. So they are preserved also in the mind of humanity, and they connect us back to these ancient beings who were mind beings. By definition, they did not have a separate body and mind as we colloquially experience it as human beings, because in the human process, how shall I call that, there is always a gap between the physical experience and the mental, the abstract experience. And what we're trying to do, what we are anyway doing naturally all life, is we are trying to connect them both and work on two levels simultaneously. And the mind category of teachings and work, it has its own path of getting empowered. So this is what our ancestors left to us.
So
among us.
they could see that there's a progression, that we will kind of come out, we will bubble out of it, but we've been down in the depth and now we're coming back up, to re-become the people who landed on the ship. That's who we are. That's who we will be. But we're down here, kind of climbing our way back up to it. And the Buddhas are probably some of the people who originally fell from the ship, who have come back and started to regain their own experience. Is that right?
This is probably how our human consciousness and conscience relate to those ancient events, is that we are trying to purify, and we are trying to reconnect and learn, even physically and mentally. I believe that it's the same story that goes through all of the esoteric schools
Absolutely.
on Earth.
There's only one story, isn't it? And it's our story.
If you have studied the like, for example, the Hebrew esoterics and the Kabbalah tradition, who speak about the original man, the Adam Kadmon, or something like that, who is essentially the original being, and he has all the tree of life. He is the blueprint, the perfect blueprint of the being that God or the creator or the universe once spit out. So this is the same ancestor. And if we go to the Christian esoterics, and then we are connecting through the Christ, through the enlightened being, the being of light in us, through the love, we are connecting directly to the same being. And we have many meditations in Hinduism that are exactly of similar type yogic meditations on the chakras and on the prana and on the deities. So I believe that every culture knew the way. In all times they knew there is a way how to connect to this high spiritual realm and keep rebuilding ourselves. Unfortunately, we are also encountering obstacles from some of our fellow humans who fell I would say badly to the density and to the gravity of the matter here, that they lost the connection. And for the same reason that they lost connection, and they experienced the hurt, the trauma, the worst possible way, they really turned against life. At some point they turned against the meaning of who we are, and they tried to stop this process to happen, because they lost even the patience. I can empathize with the
100 billion years is a long time.
Yeah, but we are seeing it. We are seeing it every day. We are seeing it around us. One thing that happened to me when I then woke up morning after this night experience, and then the morning came, and I had to get out of the monastery, and I looked at the street, and so things as they are. And I was thinking, oh my God, it's like, it's not so different. It's not so different as it's been thousands of years ago here. We did not get anywhere too far or too fast. We are still fighting the same principles, the same forces.
So this is a very interesting juncture. If we can sort of, drill into this a little bit, because now you're talking about the interaction between the spirit being and the elemental of the earth. Because whenever you have a relationship that builds, we exchange a little, even in our earthly relationships between, men and women, you learn a little thing from the last boyfriend and girlfriend that you have. You gain a little skill. I mean, they may be interested in something so much that you kind of learn about it because there's no other. I've been, one of my ex-girlfriends was a dog shower. And, so I learned all about the whole dog showing and exhibiting and first prize and crafts and all that stuff. I learned all about that just from being with her. So, whenever there's a relationship, there's always an exchange. There's always an evolution of exchange. So when the beings arrive, the Adam Kadmons arrive, let's call them that for the moment, and they touch the earth elementals. The earth elementals were spiritualized in a way that they'd never been spiritual. The spirit of the Adams came into the elemental of the earth.
But they became partial.
Yes, do you understand? And this is what became persons, people, and egos, and all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Just trying to put into a sort of a concept of my own, the way I look at things. So the development of what we call the dark side, or the development of the process of fear, let's say,
right,
has taken us to this division.
Well, I believe that the whole process of what has happened here is simply natural with life, and it's a kind of process of searching for identity or reclaiming own identity on a new level. So what these people had to do after they landed and what has happened to them, so they were forced to reclaim their identity on the terrestrial level. And the identity is what you call ego, is very much attached to the hub of identity. So this is what people, if you inquire about it with a common man, and he starts spilling all the stuff on who they are and what's their name and who were their father and mother and all the kind of thing you write to passports and resumes and all these things. So this is the part of the grip of this kind of narrow line of terrestrial identity, and then fell to the avenues of this labyrinth that we have here down on earth, that has its, as you ask about the karma, so it has its own. It had developed its own karmic pathways, and where the action and reaction paradigm happens, where people answer to each other by deeds and by speech and by mind, and how they reflect. So there's a particular frequency we fell in to this dense human world.
So we grounded, we merged with the ground, we became person.
Yeah, and you said fear, and then it becomes terrifying for people to think they would be losing their identity, because the process between the original being, the original man, and the terrestrial man was not smooth. And the path from one to another is long, is almost as long, as wide as the universe is. I mean, it's a big distance.
It was a shock.
Um,
That was the main thing. It was a shock, and that's caused the trauma.
but it was a biological shock. It was completely a biological shock. I believe it would be important at some point if we could even define. Maybe we don't have words or terms, correct terms for who we were previously as a biological organism. We were particle world where we kind of advanced plasmatic charge, advanced highly organized plasmatic beings. And a whole time-space shift happened when we fell to this environment. So the identity is kind of far away one from another, and to cover the gap, to cover the abyss, and then the abyss, then between the two, there is a gap, there is an abyss. In that abyss, there is everything you can imagine. There are all the realms of the astral worlds. There are the realms of gods, all the imaginations. There is emptiness. There is a huge abyss of emptiness in the middle. That what terrifies people probably the most, that you advance spiritually and you are suddenly caught in some kind of emptiness. It happens practically too to many philosophers. And you cannot get to the other side. And finally, we always get there. The connection happens, but we kind of have to traverse the abyss of the emptiness. But many people living a human life, they really fear losing their identity. And confronting them with other reality, be it star visitors or saying that we have another greater identity that belongs to space, it suddenly it produces a basic atavism, instinctive fear. All right, so okay, am I to give up on everything that I've been told thus and so far, and am I going to give up on my father and mother and name and all I have, and what's the promise? What's the warranty
Yeah,
that
what's it for me?
yeah, what's the warranty that I'm really someone on the other side too? So I believe it's the identity crisis, the identity grip that blocks us so often from reaching maybe to one, to another, and so forth.
Yes, I hear that. The identity, who I am, is what, and oh God, I'm trying to get to the point. Is how do we define who I am? This is the big question, and this is the philosophical question all throughout history. And maybe here now we know who I am is, and I am is the community that is gathered around the Bodghaya, the Kala Chakra, that has been there for, as far as we're concerned, forever, and has been emanating its energies out from that place all over the world.
Yeah, one way or another, we have this every living human being on Earth has this connection, this wonderful potential, and it's up to them. I don't believe it can be forced, or it can be somehow prompted in a big way, or people are trying to prompt it. Maybe it's the civilization danger that we are really now trying to push through a hard way, developing again the brute force, the nuclear power. Now coming the nuclear power, the physical force that we are going to need at the end, but it has dangers on the way that people are really trying to break through. They can't. It's difficult. It's difficult, I believe, for all of us to bear this and hold the process in control. So the control, speak of controls, so the control is the hard thing. We lost the controls. We feel we lost the controls, and we are trying to install them from some way, impose them on ourselves. And so we are chasing our own tail here. Because right.
Back to the loop. So here's the interesting thing. One of the things that we know, there's a creature here we call a tick.
Yeah.
Do you have tick? You know what a tick is?
Yeah, and they can carry the encephalitis. There's these things.
Yes,
right?
Horrid little things. But the way to extract them, you can't rip them off like that. But you have to uncoil them. You have to untwist them. They are screwed in like a bayonet, like a light bulb, and you unscrew them like a light bulb. I believe that very much the universe has a kind of screw-like. We talk about
property,
vortices, a screw-like properties, and that in order. Again, I've got some visuals here, which we're not going to have on the radio, but I have this beautiful thing. This is called a flippy flux, right? And it's made of stainless steel tape. It's very
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Stainless steel tape, and it's got a twist in it, and it's welded, so it's a single line. And when you let it go, it turns into a toroid. It's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
It's what Nassim Haramein does, right?
Yes.
Exploring the toroids, the toroid physics.
He's got one of these as well. So
shapes.
They're really cool things. Now, here's the interesting thing about it is that in order to open up the vortex, you just apply a little twist between your hands. I'm holding it top and bottom, and I'm just applying a little twist, and then you see in the middle, you see the tornado open up. And then anything can just drop through to the other side.
Yeah, suddenly the matter has completely different properties, and
it's collapsed. And I'll tell you, look what this thing does. It's beautiful. Did you see?
Wow. Yeah.
I want to send you one. Can I send you one?
Sure. Yeah, thanks.
So this is
I'm a kid too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this is the other thing. This is the other quality of Adam Kadmon, is they're childlike. They're gods. They're childlike.
Well, childlike, but they were really mature beings. I feel a child. Yeah.
You see. We shouldn't separate them from us because we are them. And it's that playfulness that is our creativity. It is that sense of, oh, wow. That's what creates things. Let's make more wow. Let's keep making wow, because this is what, and I think people imagine highly spiritual beings to be all kind of, very serious and everything. But the most spiritual being that I've ever met was laughing and joking all the time, and he had a particular kind of laugh that was like this. Hang on. I can't force it, but it was a very genuine giggle.
Yeah. In India, all the gurus are most of them are fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the true gurus, the real ones, are always funny because it's right. So here we go. Like, watch this. The humor applies the twist where the truth can drop through.
Yeah.
That's what does it. It is. I mean, every humor is takes it. Whenever you do something humorous, you're expecting something and it's twisted, isn't it? That's what makes you laugh. That's what opens up your laughter.
Yeah,
The twist.
I read some kind of definition of what a joke is when you observe the brain, and it's happening, allegedly it's happening when you apply two dissonant ideas and try to position them against each other. So then we experience a joke. When you understand a joke, the joke, the humor is lost. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So you need the little hole within, the emptiness within, for it to be a joke.
And this is where I'm getting to, because that's a mind the gap moment. Right now, so you may not have heard of this. In London, there is a railway station, underground railway station, directly under the Bank of England.
I think I've been there. I've been there.
And every person who's visited London knows that as the Mind the Gap station.
Yeah.
And there's this sound because it's built on a curve. And because the platform of the station is curved and the train is straight sections, there are these enormous gaps you could easily fall down in. And so they have this enormous announcement every time the doors open. Mind the gap. Mind the gap. And it's very, very, very cut glass English accent, male dominant, authoritative voice saying, mind the gap. And I've really got to put that in a tune somewhere because it's such an intense symbol.
Yeah, for me, the London metro, the underground has a particular feeling to it. It's unlike any underground I've been to. It's kind of ancient.
Yeah.
It's like it's always been there. It's something like, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
So, and indeed, there's probably a lot of subterranean tunnels below. I know certainly that there's a post office, a postal network. Underground railway system that is completely separate from regular metro underground, and presumably the government have got theirs, and then the Greys have got theirs underneath, and then the Reptilians have got theirs underneath, and then who else? And then the Garthans have got theirs, and then there's the Earth Dracos, and anyway, so it goes further down. So we're not alone. So meanwhile.
And then there is the fast shuttle that connects directly to the US and the continental Europe, right?
Correct.
Long before they built the tunnel.
That's right. Yeah. The porcelain tube trains that are maglev, magnetically levitated, made of porcelain, so that they for some reason, they're not affected by magnetism. And when you get in them, for some reason, they go supersonic, but you go to sleep. There's a very lulling thing about being in the magnetic field.
So you then never remember where you came from.
So you don't remember the journey. So it's just there. So it seems to happen instantly. It may take a few minutes, but so the journey. So how we do? So we've got about 15 minutes left, Eva. And it's been a fascinating and truly enlightening journey so far, because what we've established is that at some point the DNA of the being that has become us started out as these highly traumatized, dwarfed, numbed,
poor dears, yeah.
Poor dears, if we could go back and give them a hug.
Yeah, we completely tried to. We tried to help them best as possible, and we really felt very sorry for them. There is no point that they would have been looked upon in a wrong way by ourselves, by our ancestors. And what they became, or what anybody became since then is a chain of causes and consequences that goes from processes like this kind of rise and fall and regeneration and evolution and devolution and evolution and devolution. So we have probably biologically tried to repair ourselves many times, and then many of the evolution branches, they ended up somewhere at a cul-de-sac or kind of blind street, where there is no way to go further, and the tribal gene says stop and we won't go this way anymore. Either we became too violent or we became too degenerate, or we all became attached to particular food, and when the food goes we are nothing. And so this kind of peculiarity of selective human evolution.
We've been distracted. We've been distracted along the way, really.
Yeah, we are trapped here with kinds of paradigms and getting close to the animals. So later on, we had to adopt those animals and their evolution to our proximity, and started to feel close to them, and even like link to them mentally and spiritually, all kinds of ways. Even there are many traps here.
Yes, it's a very, as I said, a very distracting world. But here we are. I mean, I believe that we have a very, very good opportunity in this time to bring everybody back together again. Because, that in the 60s, they always said, we got to get ourselves together. All the songs say, we got to get ourselves together. And I don't believe that actually what they're talking about is forming groups of protesters or anything like that. But actually ourselves, our personal selves, our beingness, we need to get together with all the different fragments of our current life, our previous lives, our very, very ancient past. Now, what you've been talking about feels to me very much like the way we've developed medicine, in that we first of all started by cutting off bits that don't work properly, like amputations. Yeah, that's one of the early forms of medicine. But we got it a little more refined, and then we were able to repair the bits, and then we figure out all this stuff. But we can't figure out cancer, because cancer is caused by the attitude of cutting things away. It's the same mentality that creates cancer that creates surgery. So it's a self-sustaining thing. So because the idea of cancer is that you can separate something from itself. And so now we're getting to the idea of holistic cures, and of understanding that the diseases are caused by the traumas. And then when you clear the traumas and you get the understanding and you restore the vibration back to the first place, then everything just comes out in the wash, as we say. And there's no need to do any medical stuff. There's no need for any kind of treatments, because you can just repair yourself from the inside back out again.
That was the ideal. Yeah.
That's the ideal, all right? So to that end, we can return ourselves, find the vibration of the Adam Kadmon people.
Yeah, but we have to make some compromises here, about the ways we are dealing with ourselves, because the idea of doing that just purely naturally is probably the oldest of ideas that exist and that predated us, and some people are obviously able to do that better than others, but at no time everybody is able to jump. Or that not everybody is healthy enough, not everybody is capable of doing that, and we have to facilitate life, kind of intelligent life for people, for the adaptation process, for living here. We have to make sure we are able to stay and make life bearable. And so we have also technologies that are helping to protect this subtle, the genomic potential and our intelligence from the hard environment. And this is no matter how it sounds to one camp or another camp, it's an important thing to realize that not everything that is here naturally is friendly to us. That is like friendly to who we are and who we were. It was never friendly at the first place. And we need a little help. And that's why we are evolving all these wonderful technologies. And that's why we are becoming this pampered human being with selected needs and protections, and we need all these the shields from the sun and the sunscreens and the houses, and everything, and adjust the temperature. And because if we are not able to do that, I mean if we don't do that, we spend too much of our force and life on fighting with the environment, on survival.
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's what our human ancestors did for many thousands of years, and they were healthier mind-wise, but they were not able to get far. I think they were not able to get together verbally. They were not able to get together as civilization without all those technical aids and without speaking common language. So maybe they were like some, say, the Neanderthals, or at least one of our ancestors, who were advanced spiritually, but they did not talk a lot actually. They had developed intuition, and they had a great, artistic, ideas, imaginations, and all this.
Yes.
And they did not need those words. And they did not need all these technologies, and they were just happy like that. But with climate change that is inevitable, and with the cycles native to the planet, they were wiped out, they disappeared, or they were broken by the more sophisticated tribe of the modern human, who brought more complicated means, better means of survival. So I believe as a whole, humankind, as a body, we have to make compromises, and we have to think together, right?
And more than think together, I think we need to feel together. We need to breathe together. Is probably the best therapy for us, to be silent together and just breathe the same air for a little while. And so, Eva Zemanova, it's been a delight and a pleasure. Zemanova. I softened the Z because I've been sort of reading German, and it softens.
Yeah, it's like the Zulu. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been do you have a website that people can connect with you?
I don't at the moment, but they can still find, maybe they can find the Bodghaya event report that was written by Barry King and me a few years back, and that contains the gist of the information. And by the way, to mention Barry, who lives in Chelmsford and is a UK researcher and whistleblower himself. So he's been ill for quite some time now. So I would like to convey the message to him or to people who happen to talk to him. Please be kind on that being, because he's also like one amazing soul with a deep memory and with knowledge of many secrets, and he needs your protection and help. And he's been ill for very long now. We don't know actually what's the case, but
okay. So we need to hold Barry King in the highest light of health and joy, and see him in a happy, healthy position, maybe riding a bicycle down a lovely country road in Chelmsford in Essex. Eva, it's been, as I said, it's been a delight. It's been a pleasure. It's been enlightening. It's been reconnecting.
It's been great pleasure and privilege talking to you
once again sometime in the future.
Definitely. If you can choose a subject that is near to your heart, and we can expand on there.
Excellent. So, thank you very much. This has been a very special Journeys with JP with Eva Zemanova. Thank you very much, and good night, everybody.
And the universe.
Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you, sweetheart. It's been such a delight. As I said, it was such a delight. What I'll do is I'll record this. I'm definitely going to put it on YouTube. It's a lovely thing. Do you have a picture of? I want because I have to make an image for the show, and so I'd like an image of you, and I also want the color chakra in the middle of it. You on one side, me on the other, and color chakra in the middle.
All right.
Yeah.
So there is no problem with the color chakra, obviously.
I'll easily find that. Do you have a picture of you?
Yeah, but my problem is that I look really silly on all pictures. Like any picture that look like me is similar to the pictures they made of me when I was like 2, 4, 6. All the same. Or looks like a girl. So anybody who see me, they start like people they laugh at me since childhood. They laugh at me still. Yeah.
Oh, sweetheart. But there's a lovely one. There is a really nice one. And I think it was used on the Project Camelot one. And it's you're sitting in lotus pose and with your hair long and
okay, but it's like 25 years old.
Well, you say it's the same picture, so let's have that one, okay?
Do you mean the one on the Avalon?
Yeah.
On the Avalon.
Yeah, I think it's. I saw it just like a couple of hours before we started speaking, but it's. Yeah, I thought that's a nice one because that would go well with the Buddha thing, and I'll see if I can get a picture of me with this Buddha t-shirt on.
I can pass it to you over Skype.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much, Eva. We'll.
Yeah, and anytime you really like, I mean, we don't have to record it, but at any time you feel up to a good chat about something, then I would be honored if you can find a way.
Yes.
To me.
And indeed, if you
because there are so many things to connect to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely, and it as I said, I've got this healing modality that helps to reconnect you back with yourself after trauma, to get you back to